Good morning. I'm with Mary Michasiw. Thank you, Mary, for having us in your home today and for accepting to do this. Much appreciated.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, we're going to start about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mary.
I am a retired teacher. Spent 40 years in the classroom. Retired several times and kept going back, whenever they called for a long-term placement. I'm interested in so many things. I love traveling. I love spending time with my grandchildren, being involved in my community. Just a lot of things that I'm discovering about myself.
You've got a full life. I get that. Could we go back and speak a little bit to your time? 40 years is a long time in education. Could you speak a little bit to that? Was it maybe the areas of teaching, elementary, different levels, and also the path that led you to be a teacher?
I never saw myself as a teacher while going through high school, but choices were limited at the time when I was making decisions. I couldn't be a nurse because I couldn't handle anything, medical. I couldn't be a secretary because I did not have typing skills or anything like that. I had Latin. So there were very few options at that point. And so I decided that I was going to be a teacher. And I grew up in a family, I was the eldest of 6 children. So I did spend a lot of time with the kids and help with homework and things like that. So I went to Toronto Teachers College right after grade 13. We had the option at that time. Probably a really good thing because my parents really couldn't afford to send me to Teachers College or university and that kind of thing. So I did my degree afterwards. But my first teaching assignment I finished Teachers College in May, and I was in the classroom the following week. And
it was quick.
It was very quick.
Yes.
And it was in my own neighborhood where I grew up. I took the school bus to my school. And in the wintertime, I took the snow machine across Whitewater Lake.
So that was in Isilda.
That was in Isilda at St. Patrick's School. And, things have changed so much because I used to take the kids on snow machine rides during the lunch hour, and you couldn't do that at that time. So I spent probably the first 15 years with primary. So I got my primary specialist and my special education degree and that kind of thing. And I went to university and got my degree that way in the evenings. I had a family that did all the things that my friends were doing. All of a sudden, there was a great interest in French, immersion. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity to get involved. I went to a French school. I went to École Sainte-Marie in Isilda. And although I don't use the language a great deal, I thought it would be a great opportunity. So that's when I discovered grades 7 and 8. And I absolutely loved it. I loved that age group. It was, I don't know, maybe it was even just my own, your own desires and the excitement you felt when you were that age. And I could relate to the kids. I'd bring in my karaoke machine. And so we'd sing all during the lunch hour and we'd cook together, and it was just a great experience. So I taught in various communities. I taught out in Falconbridge. I taught in Larchwood, Chelmsford, and then I ended up at R.L. Beatty. And that's where I spent 20 years.
In grades 7 and 8.
In grades 7 and 8, teaching science and drama. And
in French immersion?
In French immersion, although I taught mainly the English component. When I retired in 2003, they kept calling me back. And then I did placements in the French immersion. So I was able to use my French at that point, as well as English, wherever there was a need. And it was really a great, great opportunity. The other thing that was wonderful about staying at the same school, you got to know the families. You got to know what their interests were, and you could kind of fit education in to their daily lives. Mm-hmm. One thing about when I taught, these children were my family. I spent a great deal of time with them, and I shared my interest. I shared the exciting things that happened. So they were very interested.
I feel the passion as you're describing your days in the schools.
Well, it was like I went to school every day, and I would listen to CBC, and something would spark my interest, and next thing you know, we're looking at newspapers and doing research, and it was like they're part of your life.
Yes.
I learned so much from those kids. It's incredible. Learned about them, but also learned about myself.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. And then after I retired, they kept calling me back. So it was really, again, I was there because I wanted to be.
Well, it shows. And, from taking the bus with the students, who does that? Nowadays, certainly you wouldn't be able to do that, but the good old days, right? And then snowmobiling. Oh, you must have been a popular teacher.
Well, it was just fun. It was just something that you did. I remember when I first started, I asked for curriculum. What do I teach at grade 1 level? And they gave me this little wee gray book. And it had maybe 20 pages in it. Grade 1 was 1 page, grade 2 was the next page, and it outlined the entire curriculum.
Was that ever simple in that time?
It was
during
simple.
That time?
And you built your own curriculum, and I could do all kinds of things because it was just open-ended.
Yes.
And I would take and I continued that throughout my career. After school, every Thursday we had a special event after school was over, and we'd go to the art gallery.
Yes.
We'd stay at the school and we'd cook.
Yeah.
We would, one time I was in touch with someone, and it just worked out that when the Royal Ballet came to do the Nutcracker just before Christmas, we got to sit in on their rehearsal.
Well,
just all kinds of wonderful things. One of the things that we did when I was doing a 6-month placement, it was the Olympics. So we had one of the flame carriers come to visit us. We followed the flame carriers right across the country. They learned the provinces, the capitals, little remote communities, everything, and we lined the halls with the names of places and things that we knew about those things. And we had Doug Craig. He was a former counselor. And he came out, and we had a competition of how well do you know your Canada. And we had teams, and it was just wonderful. I like to think outside the box.
Yes.
And do things that are really different.
Yes.
And teach not just for curriculum, but teach life skills.
Life skills.
I want them to be involved in everything that's going on. And I taught a lot from the papers. From the newspapers, from the media. And I did a number of workshops for the board about how to use the paper. I could do our entire curriculum, meet all the expectations with a newspaper.
The newspaper. And you had the parents and the families involved as well. So
it was really interesting.
Really good. Yes.
It was wonderful because parents would come to me and say, "Boy, I got to keep up on with things because my kids are asking me questions. I don't have the answers." But has it ever generated a lot of conversation at the table?
That was so positive.
It was.
So if I was to ask you the rewards of doing this, you're already telling us quite a bit about it. And okay, so maybe keep on with the rewards, but I'd also like to hear some of the challenges, because we know that teaching is a profession that has its challenges. So Mary, could you speak a little bit to that? Not to stop the reward part, because you were on a roll there telling us all the fun stuff, and I feel your passion. But the struggles for folks listening to your interview.
The challenges are always there.
Yes.
But sometimes they turn out to be blessings too.
Yes, that's true.
Challenges are sometimes with parents and not students.
Yes.
Parents who aren't satisfied with the grades that their children received and wanted them to be changed, and sort of digging your heels in and saying, I'm being honest and I'm being fair and standing up for what you believe in, and using, the information that you've collected, not just the marks, but the, efforts kids have made in that to stand your ground. Challenges were 42 kids in a split grade 7 and 8 class.
Yes, that's true. The large classrooms.
Huge, and that was more the, the first number of years that I taught, the classes were always large. Even in grade 1, 30 kids, you have to teach them all how to read. And every child has different needs. Some learn visually, others learn differently. So you have to create programs or opportunities for them to, create a program that meets their needs and helps them along. As I taught more, as the years went by, I noticed a real change in the kids. Especially the last few years. That was a main challenge in throughout my whole career.
Yes.
The lack of respect.
Yes.
The way that children spoke to their teachers and to their parents. Watching children hit their parents and parents do nothing about it. Just those kinds of things, societal issues,
Yeah, and you're right, societal issues, because we know a school is a reflection of the society. So whatever you see in the society as a whole, you will see in the school, in the classroom, and in the students. Not all of them, but many. That is so true. So you did mention before that you continued your lifelong learning while you were working and teaching. Could you speak a little bit to that? That was also, challenging because lack of time.
Definitely. I sometimes had to learn the lesson the night before I taught it, depending on what it was, Math changed.
Yes, it did.
And I was used to the old method of doing math. And now we had to talk about why you chose that answer and talk about the process. The answer wasn't the most important thing. It was the process. So learning a whole new language was difficult. One of the things that I was most afraid of when I retired was that I would stop learning. And I found other ways to continue that process. But learning has always been so important to me. And my kids were challenging. They were asking questions. And I didn't hesitate to say, I don't know the answer to that. Let's find out. Yeah. Because I wanted them to understand that teachers don't know everything. But
so true.
I wanted them to feel that eagerness to learn the answers
and to get them involved.
Yes,
yeah.
And it was wonderful. The Birdman of Alcatraz one time came up, and I don't even remember how that happened. But anyway, and they did the research on that and did a presentation. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I went down to Toronto to view this classroom in process, and it was the multi-age classroom. So 2 years I had grade 4, 5, and 6 students mixed in one classroom.
Wow.
Best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Okay? Because again, another learning opportunity.
Yeah.
But that's like family, right?
Yeah.
Families, the kids are not all segregated in separate groups. They're together.
They're together.
So it was wonderful to see how the older ones help the younger ones. And sometimes, that's the kind of classroom I went to school in, 8 grades,
Yes.
8 rows,
Yeah.
1 grade in each one,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. The strategies were certainly different then when you went to
Yes.
school, but then after, like the lifelong learning the, new strategies. But something interesting you just said is you kept on learning. You retired, you were thinking, well, I don't want to stop learning. But I hear that you're so involved in many things. Could you speak to that, Mary?
Well, the first time I retired in 2003,
First time.
I was home for 6 months and caught up on everything, right? Because we have all these unfinished jobs that have to be done, right? And then I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? So a friend of mine called me and she says, well, there's a position on the board of Volunteer Sudbury. And I thought to myself, I've never been on a board before like that. Can I do this, And, she assured me, no problem. So I got involved there. And, it's like everything just snowballed. I became involved with that and predominantly looking for volunteer opportunities for seniors like me.
Yeah, right.
Finding a place for them where they could do something after retirement. That was very interesting, and talking to different organizations and different clubs and that kind of thing to see if there's something that where they could fit. So I did that. Next thing you know, I'm working with the Seniors Advisory Panel. And Evelyn Dutrazak, a friend of mine, was on that panel. I got involved, and that panel changes every 4 years whenever there's a new council sworn in. I've been with that panel for over 20 years now. Wow. I think they must like me because they keep inviting me back. I still have to apply. But the wonderful thing about that is you start at the bottom and you learn about it, and you learn about your community, and you learn about your seniors. And then the next year, you build on what you've already learned. So being there for 20 years has been wonderful because I see the growth. I see the progress that's been made. So I like that kind of thing. Today, I sit on the National Seniors Commission.
That's something.
It is.
Could you explain to us a little bit about it? So.
Well, the National Seniors Commission, they advocate for seniors at the federal level. And they talk to whoever is, whatever party is in power, and try to sort of encourage them to focus on seniors' issues. Like not last May, but the year before, in May, we met with delegates from the federal government, and we convinced them to select 3 priorities as their focus, and that is aging in place, affordability, and healthcare. So we have a voice at that level. And we just created a provincial seniors commission because there are a lot of issues with seniors presently. I was president of the Lockerbie Legion. I became a member in 2012. I became the president of the Ladies Auxiliary in 2013. And then midway through my term, they were going to shut down the Legion because of mismanagement. So they gave me the option, we'll shut the doors unless you take over. So I had to leave the presidency of the Ladies Auxiliary, become president of the Lockerbie Legion. They were in debt. They were having all kinds of problems. The place was falling apart. And so with a few people, we built it up. And now it's one of the most successful legions in That's
so impressive.
It's in Northern Ontario. I'd never done anything like that before.
Wow, but see, you did it.
And we paid off debt. We refurbished the entire place. It's absolutely beautiful. We created a new strategic plan, and it's doing remarkably well. So I did that for 4 years and then resigned. And COVID was, even during COVID, we cooked 3,200 dinners for seniors. We delivered meals every Tuesday and Thursday. So it's always, there's always a need in the community. We started keeping seniors warm with the Seniors Advisory Panel the year that Evelyn and I sat on the board. And it was just a few weeks ago, we dressed over 120 seniors for the winter.
That's amazing.
Seniors who would be isolated because they don't have boots. They don't go outside if they don't have boots or warm coats. And the joy, oh my gosh, the joy, their faces, they get hand-me-downs all the time. But can you imagine going out and actually buying something, selecting your own, the self-esteem, they feel so proud of themselves. Don't we all want that?
Yes, for
and
sure.
And I had one senior tell me, can I do something frivolous? And I said, well, that depends on what frivolous is. And he said, can I buy a pillow?
Oh,
how many of us think that a pillow is a frivolous purchase?
It's a need.
So again, a learning opportunity. How lucky am I? How lucky are we that we have so much? I'm an immigrant. I came to this country when I was 5 years old. And we escaped from the country of my birth, Croatia. It was Yugoslavia at the time. And we lived in the refugee camps in northern Italy. Oh. And when we got the opportunity to come to Canada, my dad had been a professional soccer player, so Croatia Adria invited him to come to Canada, to bring the family to Canada. And my dad always said to us, you have to pay back. We are so grateful for having the opportunity to come to Canada that we have to show our gratitude in the way we live our lives.
Wow. Yes.
Everyone in my family is a community person, involved in their community, making things better. My brother Ziggy, very involved in his community in all kinds of different ways, Special Olympics, and my sister out in Ottawa, the same thing. So that's what I build on. My dad, stressed that all the time, and that's what we do. We give back.
And that was great advice. And you're a doer, and now I'm finding that your siblings are as well. Mm-hmm. So speaking of advice, Mary, could you give some advice to the younger generation that might be listening to your interview?
Well, I would say that there are two things, okay? Respect. Respect was always my rule in the classroom. I have to follow that rule. The kids have to follow that rule. Mm-hmm. Today's no different. Respect one another. Respect your the things around you. Respect nature. Respect the world in which we live. It's such a simple rule.
Yes, it is.
And there's even greater need today for to follow that rule than ever.
Oh, for sure.
The way you talk to your parents, the way you talk to one another. With the technology, people are taking liberty to be disrespectful. But even when you're on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, just respect one another. Say what you have to say. And sometimes it's not a positive thing, but say it with respect.
Yes.
And so that would be one rule. But the other thing for me is live every day. Make the most of it. At the end of each day, reflect and ask yourself, how did I make the world a better place?
That's great advice.
It doesn't matter what age you are.
Yeah.
Young people especially, because you know what? I was young too. I remember when we were bargaining and there was a question of, do we want increased salaries or do we want better benefits?
Yeah.
and better retirement, plan and that kind of thing. And of course, being young, what did I say? I want the money.
And we all did.
Right.
Say that.
But it's like, put yourself in other people's shoes.
Yes.
Think about what it's like. Take a few moments to pause and think about the future. The only thing I regret in my life is not taking more time, being in a hurry while I was raising my children, always accumulating, always, it was more important to have that new car and the swimming pool, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Those things don't matter.
Yeah, and we find out later. I think we all do that at a certain point. We think back and we're like, is that a sign of a maturity or wisdom as you get older? But it's good advice to the younger generation as well.
Yeah. Appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
Show respect. And just find those special moments. I have a gratitude journal. And I started that many, many years ago. And some days it's really hard to find something to be grateful for. But
not to repeat yourself is what you mean. I wrote that yesterday.
That's right. But you know what? If you really think about it, it is really easy. Sometimes we need to open our eyes. We don't see those things. We take so much for granted. So we really have to look at things a little differently and appreciate them. Life goes by so quickly.
That's so true.
So take those few moments to, call a friend. I don't know about you, but I read the obituaries regularly.
Oh, yes, I do as well.
Well, because there's always someone I know, and my circle of friends is getting smaller. I'm losing so many people. How many times I thought, I should have called when I thought about that person. I should have called them. And then you feel badly because you didn't reach out to them. Not because you didn't care. You just get caught up in life, So I try really hard to call people when I think of them. Now, if it's 2 a.m,
maybe
don't,
not.
but I try to put it on my list, because things just start to snowball and
It's so
run
true.
out of time,
You're an exciting, passionate, loving person, Mary. Thank you so much for meeting with us. Really appreciate. That's in my journal today. Appreciate the interview with Mary. Anything you'd like to add?
I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's part of reflection.
Yes, it is.
Looking back and thinking, okay, what do I value? What matters to me? And it's a confirmation again of who I am and what I care about.
Thank you. This was great.